Hello everyone and welcome to Lokmanya. We are in conversation with Namrata Hasija. She is a research associate at the Center for China Analysis and Strategy, and she's an expert on Chinese foreign policy and India-Taiwan relations. In the last episode, we spoke about the history of Taiwan and the relationship between India's first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and Chiang Kai-shek, who was the president of ROC. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, and how that relationship which blossomed into a friendship, but then went cold after PRC or the current Chinese regiment came into power. So now we are fast forwarding to 1995, where this friendship was revived again between India and ROC, which is now Taiwan. And we have Namrata here who's going to tell us about how this friendship was revived, in which fields it was revived, and what is the current state of it. Namrata, over to you.
Thanks, Gauri. And I think let's continue our chat on India-Taiwan relations now, which has entered a new phase when under
Mm-hmm.
the Act East policy,
Right.
which we call now the Act East policy under Modi, but it was the Look East policy which was initiated by Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao in the
Mm-hmm.
90s. Under this, both Taiwan and India, they decided to open offices in each
Mm-hmm.
other's country. Of course, they could not open any embassies here because we don't have diplomatic ties with Taiwan. So
Mm-hmm.
instead, in 1995, in New Delhi and in Taipei,
Mm-hmm.
we opened representative offices. So in
So
India,
I
the
just have a
Taiwan
question here. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just have a question here.
office.
Could you tell us the exact difference between an embassy and a representative office?
See, it's like because we don't have any official relationship and diplomatic ties, we cannot, formally send an ambassador there,
Okay.
and we cannot, set up like we set up embassies in other parts of the world. So this is kind of just an office that we send where, uh, you know, um, usually an ambassador would be a senior IFS, officer. Here,
Okay.
mostly the rank of joint secretary or some, they are sent there as representatives, and they are not called ambassadors. They are
Right.
either called directors, or we'll address them as Taiwan's representative in India or India's representative in Taiwan. And
Okay.
here, the office, Taiwan's office, is actually called Taipei Economic and Cultural Center, and our
Okay.
office there is called India Taipei Association.
Okay.
So, with the initial intent of focusing or increasing commercial relationship, these
Mm-hmm.
offices were set up.
Okay.
And I would say the progress has been slow, though we have picked up in the last few years. From
Mm-hmm.
in 2001, the bilateral trade was nearly was USD 1.19 billion, and
Okay.
now in 2018 it is 7.5 billion US dollars. Though it
Okay.
is an increase, it's a six-fold increase, but I would say still it is far below the potential of what both the countries can do together.
Okay.
So right now, India is Taiwan's 14th largest export destination and 18th largest source of imports.
Okay.
And I think by the end of 2018, almost 106 Taiwanese companies have invested in India,
Hmm.
and they have invested in India in different sectors like
Mm-hmm.
financial services, electronics, construction, machinery, and automobile components, and all these things.
Okay.
However, as I said, I would still say it is far below the potential that
Can you give
we
some
should have achieved.
examples? Can you give some examples of which
Look at our
companies?
which companies like Foxconn is here, China Steel, which everybody thinks is
Is
Chinese, but China
Chinese.
Steel is actually Taiwanese. And it
Mm-hmm.
is, they have established their plant in Gujarat.
Okay.
And so, yes, so we have then Acer is actually Taiwanese, HTC is
Okay.
Taiwanese.
Okay.
So all these brands are, Taiwanese brands.
Okay.
And trust me, the quality is way superior than a lot
Of
of
course.
Chinese brands that we, buy. The last 5-6 years, we have seen quite a lot of development even in these areas, but still we can do much more. Now, the reason why India-Taiwan relations, I would say, has always suffered
Mm.
and been on the back seat is because of the People's Republic of China. Because
China.
whenever we have, tried to kind of initiate our relationship, and India, not so much as Taiwan, but India has kind of played it very slowly, and they have
Okay.
kind of, not responded to Taiwan's call for upgrading our relationship to a strategic partnership. So all that has been there. All these factors have really played a lot of part, because when the DPP government, which is the current ruling party of Taiwan, they came to power in 2001. They actually
Okay.
sent feelers to New Delhi that they want to engage and have defense ties with India. Of course, India refused,
Right.
because India was always afraid that, this will kind of have problems with China. As I was saying, that China, China at the back of has always been there between India and Taiwan somehow, because of course India believes goes by the one China policy, and if we say that we believe in one China policy, we that Tibet and Taiwan are parts of China,
China.
mainland China. So, but however, I feel that it's high time India treats Taiwan as a country. Taiwan, of course, is a democracy like us.
Yes.
One of
Yes.
the biggest similarities we have, and it is one of the, I think it's the only East Asian nation that has not seen any bloodshed when it moved from a martial law or a dictatorship to democracy.
That's a
It
big
was
thing.
so smooth. Yeah, the transition was so smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the reasons why I feel that not only India but the world should kind of wake up to what Taiwan is. We cannot ignore them. We have seen how they have fought COVID, and they have set an example. The only country that did not have a lockdown even for a single day. That's,
Wow.
that's how they dealt with COVID. And the
Mm-hmm.
cases are just like between, it's less than 500.
Oh,
And the first case in Taiwan began somewhere in February. And look at the way they have really managed it, and the way people have cooperated with their government. And I think because of that, a lot of television channels and a lot of people started talking about Taiwan. And
yes.
when we had this border skirmish with China,
Mm.
everybody started talking about that India should play the Taiwan card. If PRC doesn't believe in one India policy, why should we believe in one
In one
China?
China.
But to those people, I would say that we should not use Taiwan as a card. Taiwan is
Okay.
a country. Taiwan is a place, is a country where we should have our ties with this country without the background of China, without looking at it through a Chinese prism. I think that is very important,
Mm-hmm.
because we have there are so many sectors in which we can cooperate with them. And the
Right.
Taiwanese government itself, because after President Tsai Ing-wen, who's the current president of Taiwan, she also came into power in 2014. When I
Mm-hmm.
was in 2015, when I was there, in 2014, I witnessed all the campaigning and everything, and she won elections in 2015. So it's kind of a
Okay.
simultaneous thing when Prime Minister Modi started saying that instead of look east, we should have act east
Act East.
policy. And she came to power, and in her inauguration address also she mentioned India, how Taiwan wants to have good relationship and move away kind of from China, because a lot of Taiwanese businessmen, they work in China, in the sense they invest in China, they work in China because they have language, the culture is very similar, the language is
Right.
not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so she, instead of China, she wanted to lessen the dependency that Taiwan had on Chinese economy. And she said we would, have this new southbound policy under which we are going to invest more in the ASEAN countries and in India
Okay.
and basically South Asia. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that is one of the reasons that they are very keen on cooperating with India. Their Ministry of Education is doing a lot when it comes to providing scholarships to Indian students.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 3,000 Indian students are studying in Taiwan right now, and
Okay.
in engineering to management to PhDs in liberal arts. Students from I think all parts of India
Mm.
are being given scholarships, and the number of scholarships that they are giving is more than any country that is giving scholarships to Indian students. And
Is
they are
it?
giving scholarships, yeah, and they're giving scholarships in many categories. Like
Okay.
they give scholarships only for the language, which is the
Mm-hmm.
Who Are You scholarship.
Okay.
So they give you that scholarship from 3 months to a year, so you can
Mm-hmm.
go to Taiwan and learn the language Mandarin there. And
Right.
then they are also giving scholarships for masters and PhD students in different
Mm-hmm.
fields. Then they
Mm-hmm.
also have a Taiwan fellowship. It's like after, for professors, assistant professors, or research scholars like me, we can
Okay.
go there for a year,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to submit a research paper and stay in Taiwan. So they are giving many scholarships, and these are
Okay.
scholarships given by the Ministry of Education. But individual Taiwanese universities are also giving scholarships to
Okay.
Indian students, and some
Mm-hmm.
actually are exclusively for Indian students.
Okay.
So some of the students directly apply to the universities. They don't get the Ministry of Education fellowship, but they
Mm-hmm.
get some support from the universities where they have
University.
applied. So
That's wonderful.
education, yes, yeah, educational ties. We have good educational ties. We do have exchanges between the think tanks also, but
Mm-hmm.
yes, there should be more engagement. Like
Right.
I would say always, but we
Mm.
do have engagement. I think one of the major sectors right now which should be India's focus, is technology, because
Okay.
Taiwan has the technology, and we have relied somehow on Huawei to
Mm-hmm.
provide broadband infrastructure throughout India, and we know what are the negatives of doing that. People don't understand that there is no private sector in China,
Yeah.
and Huawei definitely has direct links to the People's Liberation Army of China and also to the Public Security Bureau in China. We should be, sensitive to that. And Taiwan is a better option. Then artificial intelligence, cyber hardware, all these areas are there where we can have, a partnership with Taiwan, and we should, I think, put it on the top priority. Then
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely advocate also for strategic ties where we can have, because we don't have a defense attache here in
Right.
India from Taiwan. Why
Mm-hmm.
don't we have a defense attache here? I
Right.
mean, Taiwan is one of the best China watchers. Why don't we
Mm-hmm.
use their expertise and their knowledge of the PLA, and
Mm-hmm.
send groups of our you know people from the Indian Navy or Air Force or Army to go
Mm-hmm.
there and learn Mandarin, and also
Yeah.
learn a bit more, you know,
Mm-hmm.
more than just the language, and try and
Right.
understanding Chinese PLA. I think I'm all for it. And
Right.
NDU, in fact, their National Defense University has offered that they
Mm-hmm.
will kind of provide the language course for Indian officers. So I think that is one of the other areas where we can cooperate. And
Right.
then everyone in India and around the world, especially the US, Australia, all of us are discussing about the quadrilateral and the
Yes.
Indo-Pacific strategy. And I think Taiwan is, everybody will be surprised why I'm saying that Taiwan should be part of the Indo-Pacific strategy. But as
Mm.
I said yesterday, that Taiwan actually controls the largest island of the South
South
China
China
Sea.
Sea. Yes.
So, and they kind of control the northeast exit.
Right.
So I think Taiwan should be included in the Indo-Pacific strategy, and India,
Mm-hmm.
US, Australia, Japan, they should think about including Taiwan, Indonesia, Vietnam, and all
Mm.
these littoral states, which
Right.
which we call the middle powers. And I think then we can have a good Indo-Pacific strategy. The
Mm-hmm.
education sector, we have good relationship, but we should invest more and see the Taiwan education centers in India as a
Hmm.
good alternative to China's Hanban and Confucius Center, because
Confucius. Yeah.
everybody knows what the Confucius centers actually are,
Are. Yes.
and Taiwan education centers do not work on the same lines, and they
Hmm.
are not propaganda things like the Confucius
Confucius.
Institute. So why not? Though
True.
they have a Taiwan education centers in India, they have it in Jamia, they have it in OP Jindal, and they have it at a few other places that I know of. But they want to have many more. And I
Mm-hmm.
think here the government should take the initiative and invite Taiwan to actually establish Mandarin language centers in our universities and other professional institutes, and even
Mm-hmm.
schools are offering Mandarin. So
Right.
instead of having Hanban Chinese teachers, why not have Taiwanese teachers?
No, I was just listening to you, and off the top of my head, I was also thinking that we could have technological tie-ups with our technical universities. IITs, engineering colleges,
Yeah,
startups, tech
yeah, yeah.
startups based in Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai, Pune, for that example.
Hmm.
Because again, the country is pretty vast, and we also have a lot to offer.
Hmm.
From what I'm hearing is
Yes, definitely.
Taiwan is really interested in taking our ties
Hmm.
further, and China seems to be the main
Hmm.
hurdle and the reason for our hesitation. So I was wondering, is there any country which is comparable to India but which has put aside China's
Hmm.
pressure and built such relations with Taiwan? Is I mean, I'm just curious to know that.
Uh, See, Taiwan doesn't have many diplomatic friends, which
Mm-hmm.
tells you exactly how China has used its 14 trillion US dollar economy to kind of, because whenever China opens up diplomatic ties with any country, the
Mm-hmm.
first thing that the country needs to acknowledge is the one China policy.
Okay.
So unless you recognize that, you can't have bilateral relations with China. And
Oh,
uh, their economy has definitely attracted more countries, because China has been investing in a lot of countries. So
yes.
it is difficult for any country to, I would say they should do it, but that's, I think, up to the diplomats. And I'm not in a position to kind of, say why they are not doing it. But most
Right.
of the reason definitely is that if you recognize PRC, you cannot recognize Taiwan as a country. But still,
Okay.
China itself engages with Taiwan. Most of the
Okay.
Taiwanese investment is in China. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
Taiwanese students go and study there. A lot of mainland tourists, the maximum number of tourists that Taiwan receives is from mainland.
Okay.
So when China itself is engaging with Taiwan, then why not other
Right.
countries? The
Yeah.
thing, things have definitely changed after DPP came to power, because the mainlanders don't like DPP, because DPP is a party that was established on this pro-independence policy, because they say
Okay.
Taiwan is a separate country, and they want independence they want independence. They're an independent country. So
Right.
after that, currently the last 3-4 years, the cross-strait relationship, which we call China Taiwan relations, have been really bad. But
Mm-hmm.
otherwise, China really has always engaged with Taiwan. So
Okay.
I don't see a problem why India cannot engage with Taiwan. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the last line that I would like to say is that it is high time India moves and upgrades its relationship with Taiwan into a
Mm.
strategic partnership.
Yeah, I mean, with so much potential and so much common ground, I think what you are saying is right. It is time that we upgrade our relations and expand the areas of cooperation with them. It does seem to be a fascinating country, and that is why I'm also equally interested in hearing your experiences and stories about it. because there are very few Indians who go to Taiwan, and even fewer who are researchers and women. So from the angle of a woman and as an Indian and as a researcher, your view of Taiwan would be a very fascinating story. So let's continue this in the next episode. And thank you, Namrata, for speaking to us. This was wonderful.
Thank you, Gauri. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.